How you guys doing today?
Very well.
Very good.
Very good.
Very, very good. Awesome. So, hey, today we have on Sonic Eclectic Vision, we have Dean. You are on the East Coast. We've got also another East Coaster. Actually, three of us are on the East Coast. We got Geisha V,
Hi.
and we've also got Charles on the East Coast as well.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Very well. Thank you. How are you?
Cool, cool. And on the West Coast, we have Drew. How you doing, Drew?
Staying warm.
Staying warm, yeah, because you're not dealing with a whole bunch of snow. All right, so
Still pretty cool.
we're moving forward with all our predictions, everything we said, all the seasons coming back. And let's start out with X Files, Drew. You said X Files is starting tonight?
It was actually Dean that said X Files was coming back, but sure, we can go that route.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
start with that. So,
After I
definitely.
don't know how many years worth of hiatus, the X Files is coming back for what will be a six-part miniseries on Fox, starting. Was it tonight, guys? Is that what you told me?
Tonight, and then part two tomorrow.
Right, right. So it's going to be a two-part series opener. I'm actually curious to see what the responses are for this because we were talking about this briefly before the show. X Files is one of those iconic sci-fi series that has done everything conceivably that I feel that it could do as a show. So I don't know what else they have left in the tank for this.
Right.
Well, it's funny because Chris Carter had said that there was, with everything going on, it was so ripe for more conspiracies. He had to bring the show back, and
Okay.
he's got a lot of great ideas that he wants to. And if it does well, who knows? Maybe they'll bring it, just bunch of miniseries.
A few miniseries, it's like spaced over. That could work. I feel like that would be more appropriate than like trying to just bring it back just to ride the crest of this reboot craze that's going on right now.
Well, that works, Well, first of all, it's not a reboot; it's a continuation.
Or a continuation. I'm sorry, you're right. You're right. Yeah, it is a continuation.
The show ended in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had that spin-off that started well and then it dropped off, The Lone Gunman.
Oh, that TV show was great.
Remember that? And then
Yeah.
they had the two films. So it might work a little miniseries. Because think about like Doctor Who, right? There's not like 11 episodes. Just give them good stuff and that's it. They wanted to stretch it to 22, and Capaldi and Moffat said no, keep it to 11. Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock is it does one step better because it's only 3 episodes, but each episode's like a feature length, an hour and a half. So
Exactly. So they might take that route. Oh, and speaking of Doctor Who, Moffat's leaving the show as head writer, showrunner. The guy who writes Broadchurch is going to take over, and Moffat's going to focus on
Sherlock.
So he had a great run, and I'm sure there's going to be a big tribute to him sometime.
Which I think is for the best. I can't remember the fellow's name that does Broadchurch. I hear nothing but good things about that show. So before he hops onto that, I guess I need to go back and finally watch that show. It'll be interesting to see what Moffat can do now that he's just focusing on Sherlock, because I think that's a great show. And the new guy that's taking over, he does good work, apparently, from what I hear. So this will be an interesting little transition for Doctor Who.
Yep.
The comeback kids of shows, we have Flash that started out a little lukewarm. little lukewarm. They keep pushing the relationships, and Drew, you pointed that out. That every episode it just got more and more about the love thing, rather than the action that we fell in love with in the beginning.
I'll make a slight correction to what you just said. I feel that coming out of the gate, this mid-season opening rather, it was a little bit bogged down by Barry wanting to tell Spivot that he's the Flash. And I'm like, I can see a little bit of conflict there, but that doesn't need to take up 25 minutes of a freaking episode where he's like going back and forth with his friends having the same circular conversation of, I want to tell her I'm the Flash, but she'll be in trouble. If you love her, you'll tell her. Like, dude, who gives a X would have deleted? And then it's like, and then you have like, sorry, but dude, what was it?
They're just focusing for that young adolescent audience. That's what they're doing.
I get it. All the chicks are watching saying, when are the two cuties gonna hook up? I know. Give me a story, please.
Hold on.
I know. I'm whatever.
CW too. Honestly, I was kind of tired of the romantic casting between the two of them for the longest time. A, heavily obvious. Two, completely cliche. And three, I would have preferred him to hook up with a chick from The Arrow, because I felt that she was more a better match for him as far as interest-wise, but I understand the whole point of the show.
Are you talking about Felicity?
Dawson's Creek with superpowers right now.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll get to Felicity in a moment, because we're talking about Flash. That's going to transition directly over to the Arrow. And then we're going to get to the positive point of this week, because DC went hard this week. There are a couple misses, but they did have some hits, and we'll get to that in DC's Legends of Tomorrow in a few minutes.
But if you look at the majority, even the movies, I think they focus too much on the love interest.
Mm-hmm.
They try to make a love story out of it. They did it with Spider-Man. They did it with Batman. No, I'm just like, enough is enough. Let Batman be Batman, let Spider-Man do his thing. But they try to make, I don't know. I think they mess up the stories and just take it where it doesn't need to go. And they start.
Yeah, they have these lame, obligatory romances in it that don't really add anything to the story. It doesn't add anything to the film. Spider-Man's thing, it made sense, but they realized, I think, by the second act that, what's her name? Kristen Dunst's character, who was not Mary Jane, but by the second act, she was supposed to be Mary Jane. I didn't buy it for 1 second.
No, me neither. I didn't buy it at all.
She's a superfluous character by like the second act.
Yeah.
Like, she serves no purpose aside from getting kidnapped, which I think is a disservice to the actress. It's a disservice to the character. And it's kind of a slap to the face of chicks in general when you think about it. It's like your role is just to get the male character from point A to point B to get his powers, and after that you're just there to get kidnapped.
That's why I don't like heavy romances in these films.
The same thing's going to happen to Chris Pine when he plays Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman.
Right.
He's going to be the Daphne of Scooby-Doo. God will go, have to keep saving him here or there, you know?
And the only time, I feel like Steve Trevor was just the male equivalent of that, because every time he's shown up, his whole thing is he ends up on an island full of Amazons. He's a man, so he's therefore supposed to be killed. And the whole thing is Wonder Woman is constantly saving him from getting his ass kicked. And it's like, dude, something.
Well, let's look at a show that's not like that. Look at Arrow. Arrow, you have men kicking butt, women kicking butt. There is no damsel in distress. It's pretty much
there is.
Fighters. Well, there's fighters and there's non-fighters. There's like, the common man's kind of like an idiot, except for this powerful group of people. I mean, it does say a lot about, if you're not a superhero, it does say something about normal people, quote unquote, that they're just weak and need guidance and need protection, but that's a whole other thing. But that's why we have a superhero show.
Arrow's better. To wrap up that Flash thing really quick, it's not that I don't like the show, I just feel that it was for an opening to a mid-season, which had a great little teaser towards the end, where you think that Harry, this parallel version of Harrison Wells, is going to betray the Flash because he needs to get his daughter back. That was great. To open up with Barry being in a conflict on whether or not he wants to tell his girlfriend who he is because he doesn't have enough people to know his secret identity. Right. It's like, I like the characters, but they need to have less of that and more of the actual plot. So back over to Arrow, which is guilty of doing kind of the same thing with Oliver and Felicity, but that's just me.
Well, they started to have when they have fight scenes, they do really, really well with Arrow. When they have a little bit of moments, you're like, wow, this is cool. They don't have enough of that. And that's where I give credit to Badlands. Because the Badlands, when they fight, they go in. The fight scenes hold you to it. Story could be a little better, a little tighter as far as character development. But at least you get that meat of this is an action show. I think that the problem with the Arrow is they're not giving you as much action as they should. And you feel disappointed. At least I do.
I disagree. I think the action sequences are fine. They're there when they need to be there. I think, if anything, they have good character beats where you have these human moments between the characters where they interact. But the problem, I think, is the whole idea of things happening just to advance the character. Like the whole thing with Diggle and his brother, he's keeping his brother in a cage.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The Arrow cave. and going in there and beating the crap out of him to get information to find out who it was, or like find out where the dude who crippled Felicity is.
Right.
I'm like, this seems like it's not quite jumping the shark, but the shark is right there at the cusp. Like, can I jump yet? Can I just so?
Well, let me ask you this, Drew, and answer honestly. If you were to cut those pieces of fat and replace them with really good action, wouldn't you be happier?
No, because then I'd be like, okay, so they don't have a plot, so they're going to give me more action.
But there is a plot
bad.
there. It's just that they keep stretching it. There
was a bit of stretching. There was, but
I'm saying if we stop the stretching and give us that, wouldn't you feel a little better?
But then how would you go about that? Because the whole cause and effect is if you add more action, you have to explain why the action is happening. If it's just Oliver goes to a base and just beats the crap out of a bunch of faceless dudes, it's like.
But isn't that there? It's just that they prolong it so much. And I feel that they kind of like.
Correct.
Say it again.
Their pacing is off. Like, you can have a good show, and you can have the screenwriters give good flow, like good pacing of it. Like, every show needs character development, but I think if they make it like, okay, the Arrow is going to be an action/romantic comedy, because that's how I view The Flash, honestly.
Right.
And their pacing kind of bounces back and forth between the two of those. And then when they lean too much on one end or the other, then that's when the flow gets disrupted.